computers. When I only watch news, we never see the soap operas. If I'm to use my WhatsApp, I'll maybe check the gender issues where people abuse women and respond. And also, when the boy child is under sick, maybe they can come and help them. But they always find themselves down. So, at the county level, I would say that the section of Maendeleo and Hawke, that again was earned. We went for election and for social services. The other person who scored 60 out of 60 delegates. I also voted for myself, so I'm always proud that I was elected 100%. And also, the vice chairperson with programs and projects that is spoken to my leadership focus. We are also with my sister Farida. Again, the ladies gave me the vote, we are 60. Gave me that those of the coordinator. I'm the treasurer of the County Director Western Regional Human Rights Network under the umbrella of Kenya Human Rights Commission of Human Rights. I'm a director at Wasco. And right now, I'm also privileged from Uganda to serve under the COVID-19 emergency fund response. So all these people who say that, so why are you in this position? So I want to say, women opportunities are there, and they can never look for you. And those opportunities fly. If you get something that you can do it passionately and do it well. You will not look for these opportunities, but they will look for you. But if you just sit, they will never come to you and you will never get there. So position yourself well.
And whatever you want to do not do it to hurt the other person. But if you do it collectively as women, you'll always be a woman of power. The women, when they cry sometimes because they're happy. And sometimes when they're happy, sometimes when they are happy, they cry. And sometimes also, when they cry, they are also bruised. So, but I'm saying that whatever the bruises or the weaknesses or the challenges that we are going through as a woman, do not relent. Be like Esther. If you're a beautiful man and you don't have brains, that is very lethal. So beauty must come with brains, then you'll have a lethal combination. So as women, I would encourage you that the power of a woman lies within you, and the nation depends on you for nation building. The youth depend on you to get their reproductive and productive substances that they have, because we are the people who give them direction. Even the elderly people, they depend on the women decisions. And that's why, long time ago, my grandmother also was a village elder, but maybe I've taken after my grandma, because in 1963, she was elected a councillor in Nakuru. When the men would go for the Council of Elders meetings, sometimes when the things could not work, one of the elders or the care would say that let's go back home and sleep over it. Maybe tomorrow we'll come to make a judgment or ruling, something of the sort. I think these men were just going home to consult with the women in the night because they could not make a decision. Why would people sit all afternoon and they cannot make a decision? So when they went back home and they would whisper this to their women, I think the women would give them wisdom. Then when they go back there, the following day they would be more brighter. Absolutely. So women, you have a role to play to make sure their husband is brighter before he goes for a meeting.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. That's very interesting perspective. I never thought of it that way. And what a powerful story. What a powerful story, Janet, for everything you've had to overcome. There's a thread that is coming through here, and I think Beatrice had mentioned it, about the way women fight being just as important as the outcome. Maybe, Paris, I can start with you. When are you calm? When are you fearless? And how do you know those moments? Because even the woman that we are, in general, celebrating here today, is quoted as saying she always worked fearlessly along the men, but then was also known to be a very calm debater, particularly at that moment when she, played the role of temporary deputy speaker. So she knew when to switch it on and when to switch it up. What is that moment, that fight? How do we know when to employ which tactics? I mean, women are known to be multitaskers, right? But what would you draw from your experience and those of others in terms of how to play the fight to get you to where you want to be?
Thank you very much. Like in research, we do a lot of research. So you must study what is around you, and you get solutions. So we must be tactful. We look and study them, and we come out with results after studying their attitudes and their ideas. I think that's what works for me.
Yeah, and Prof, you studied humans and our behavior. What is that moment? And I like what you said about studying and knowing, reading the room, understanding the moment.
Yeah, I have a research background, and I usually like to study my environment. Because if you're going to have a fight, you better have a good fight. And you better know where you're going to hit. So, so sometimes you need to be calm and quiet and almost be overlooked. Just about, but not quite. And then you can come back. It's a tactical retreat. Come back and say something. I find myself that naturally, things work better for me when I'm calm because I'm more reasonable. And my mother, who was one of the very early counselors in this town, had always said that if you're few in numbers in a place, you don't go with a tom-tom. You go with a strategy and try to get allies so that you don't just jump into the fire and then you're all alone. You must find some male allies who are willing to support you, and you need to be reasonable. Don't be shrill, don't shout. You can shout when you need to, but don't be shrill all the time because they expect you to cry, they expect you to shout, they expect you to, So you have to remain calm and work with facts. If you work with facts, it seems to work better for me. That I can say, yeah, I can follow the logic of it. And if you try to beat me at the logic, then now we have to use other means. But I like
Who would beat you when it comes to logic? Who on earth would dare? And about evidence and about guiding a discussion and a debate with evidence and in a fact-based manner that then is devoid of emotion and straying into other areas. Beatrice, we've heard here that the upbringing has played a great role. There have been great men and women, fathers and mothers, grandfathers and grandmothers. And even like Prof said, when she was growing up, and I think every woman has said it here, they never heard it in the home that women were only to be seen and not heard. But then you see it out there. So where does it come from out there if we're saying in the home, there's a sense of equality that's being preached? So where does that come from and how do we start to deal with that?
Okay, I'd want to think that most homes, not all, present a kind of secure environment for those growing in it. This may blind you to the fierce competition for the scarce resources outside the home. Within the home, mothers, as you're growing up, would try to equitably distribute chores, equitably distribute food to their kids. But that is not exactly what goes outside the home. So I usually use the frame that adulthood is a scam. In the struggle for scarce resources, everybody connives, backstabs, steps on the other person in order to get the prize. That, unfortunately, is the rule of the game, which is not so ruthlessly played at home. So, whatever you learn from your parents or from the home environment is but the principles, but you have to operationalize them the hard way out there. When we say that there's an equality, then we need to understand what is unequal out there. And the bottom line, usually in adulthood, is just this struggle for resources, the struggle for the rare opportunities, the struggle for the few positions available that we need to occupy, the struggle for permits to do business, places to do them. And in it, we have factors historically that come into play. You'll find that when I leave college with my mate, who we live with at the same level, we start our career almost in the same place at the same time, the society expects that we have kids. Certainly, all of us would want to have kids. But the thing comes, one of you will have to carry it in a womb for 9 months. And it doesn't have to come the easy way for everyone. There'll be sicknesses, mood swings, and the rest. In your workplace, this plays. And your productivity may not be the same. Assignments start varying. While he's sent on challenging assignments outside that will contribute towards its career advancement, you have to lay back. The baby comes. As a woman, you need to go home and take care of the baby. And babies are not taken care of for 6 months. Your leave could be 3 months. But babies are taken care of for almost a year. Human beings start attaining some level of, now somebody else can take care of me, almost after a year. And in that, I'm a victim. I lost my Commonwealth scholarship because of a baby. You have to weigh the two. Do you go to India or do you stay in Kenya to raise your baby? Secondly, at this point, when the man is advancing career-wise, while the woman, the good old family responsibility, which we really love, will draw you back a bit, even if you're in business or whatever, as you take care of your baby. There, we start seeing disparities in terms of income. Whoever you started with starts getting more income as yours shrinks. Secondly, there are laws and there are norms. And any day, norms are stronger than laws. Norms are given and we are socialized into them. Often, the community will tell you as a woman, when you want to start running around like a loose foot in the name of working, that you are in Nairobi for 2 weeks, you are in Addis for 2 weeks, you are coming back. They'll tell you, Dake Marito Ode. You are the one to take care of your household. You cannot run and chase such kind of stuff. When your man does the same, oh, it's okay. You need to support your man. Stay at home. Now with this, he expects you. We have them. He's a partner, you write his papers. He's going to present them. In essence, your contributions are almost 80%. In his paper, and his name is first, he's going to present it. You, the society will praise you as being a very good woman, very loving, while you stay back at home, very supportive of the husband. But when he starts supporting you, and you are in the podium and he's there, the narrative changes. He is sat on. And this, he will be told by the people he really cares. He cares about them, the people he loves, like your mother. We are all saying that we are mentored by our mothers. Now your mother tells you, why do you leave Nyanyakach to be hopping from one plane to the next, place to the other? My son, you're losing ground. And with the time, it gets into him. The good man bends to the norm of the society. That is what it expects. And this take a lot of time to change.
I like what you're saying about norms being, more powerful than laws, because it's how we are conditioned, it's how we are raised, and this happens from a very young age. And maybe we can talk about it from the human rights perspective. What you've said is fairly important. While it is important for women to excel in their careers, in their professions that they choose, it seems like the value that a woman brings, we've not put a cost to that. So the only cost we have is, does she bring, does she work? And even then. But in reality, raising children, being a homemaker, being a nurturer also has a value. And yet we don't cost that. So that at the end of the day, a woman's contribution isn't really understood in terms of the value that it brings. I guess that's what feminism is all about, right, Janet?
I'll start by saying that no matter how much a woman has, there's always too much for her to lose. And that's the norm. And I would say that this society has just decided to do what we call structural violence. The situations and even the legislations, they'll make sure that we have legislation to cushion women but without regulations or budgets to implement them. So you'll always be told there's this Sexual Offences Act, there's this Matrimonial Act, or the Children Act. They'll tell you about those. There's so many theories that even a local woman do not understand. So that is a structural violence. If somebody gives you a legislation without a budget or a regulation to implement that, still the women will not find a position. But again, they always tell us that women are our own enemies. But if you find two women fighting, there must be a mind behind it. Anytime you find two women fighting, even if they're fighting over man, is the man who's made them to fight because they're sharing their love. So they should not tell us that we hate one another. They always play a role. So even the community, if I would start from there in the human rights perspectives, I would also say that we've lost it in terms of parenting. You know, even during the olden days, even the professors, be it the professionals, the men that we're talking about, they were elite. At Christmas time or Easter time, people would go home and share. They would take the children to their parents or grandparents or aunties just to teach them on how to fit in the society. But right now, people envy that during Christmas time, we were in Dubai. I took my children to Kampala. We went to Seychelles and all that. Taking them to cultures they do not even understand. So when the children come back, they think that's the order of the day. So we're losing it culturally and even politically. Just what my sister Beatrice talked about. When you want to venture into politics, you are seen as a woman who is high-headed and maybe who's lost track and just a prostitute. But I'll tell the women, that should form your middle name. Anytime you want to get into legislative position, if you are called a prostitute, it's true, because for you to legislate in a same national assembly, you have to be wooing these men to get to your side in order to vote, to get your bill or act that you want correct. So prostitution is prostitution, whether it's in bed or through words or what, somehow you do it. So if you're told you're a prostitute, technically you're a prostitute of words. You should not be bothered. Whichever they mean, that should not worry you. Do it your way anyway. So women fear these names. So even in our society, again, when a woman is... when a man marries a second or third wife, he's referred to as Manuar. He's a Majowi. Then a woman all the time you're called baby, so that Terimos, Nyanyaka, I mean the eyeballs, which ones are hard and which ones are... if you're told Nengamos, I mean, how are you supposed to even throw your eyes and all that? So we are making them to determine even how we need to look at these people. If anything, when again you want to find your position as a woman and the society, for example, maybe today I want to be an MCA of this area, Mlimani Market. What the MCA is here, but I've said that if I wanted to be one here today, or maybe let me check the rural setup. The people that we are competing against, they are uncles of this man, the brothers, the sisters, aunties, and you. I came from Nyakach, maybe I'm married in Uganda. It's just me and my children who are also minors who do not vote for me. And this person is surrounded with all his relatives. And he can just come out, wake up one morning and sell the land and tell them I'm going for politics. But you, if you try it, you'll be told you're wasting family resources. So the yardstick that is being used to gauge the women development or maybe management or prosperity is such a high yardstick. But again, now even women, we've made ourselves to buy into the narrative that if the yardsticks are before you, you don't want to skip the hurdles. You really don't want to try. So I always tell the women, whether you do it or not, you'll always have another name. So if you just see it, they'll also tell you, Ma bebetiga beta. Those Luo, I want to give a reference in Luo. You'll just be told, you'll just sit. So somehow there'll be a reason. So what I want to tell the women today, for you to be a woman of power, you really must show that you are up to the game. And the society, we must change now in the spaces that we develop. I know most of us maybe not take their children home, but we can develop the safe spaces. Like now the social hall, this is a very good space for the women. Resource mobilization, this is what we call a safe space. They can get here and they talk about their issues. Then from there, are they able to propel them? There's a difference between thinking, or maybe the way you put your things. A woman can think, then you need to share that and speak out. But if you just complain and you cannot create, you cannot nurture, you cannot transform your thoughts, then it's as good as the word. And that will not transform us. So that's what we need to know, that structural violence can only be taken up by us. And there's nothing for us without us as women.
Right, taking the ideas forward. And very powerful that they will call you names anyway. It doesn't matter. Yeah, if you stay home, you're lazy. If you keep walking around, what was that? You said, bitches unatembea tembea tu uko hapa uko Addis, you know, what is wrong with you? So it's just about deciding what you want to do and doing it anyway. And as long as you know your intentions are in the right place and this is what you want to do. I want to start winding this down because I'd like to get some feedback from the audience. But I want to finish in this way, and I'm so happy that we are honoring a woman while she is still alive, because that is so important. Not when she is long gone and then we come and say all these beautiful flowery things and, you know, we bring roses and that sort of thing, and we're doing it now. But another important thing to do now is to bring other women up and to ensure that maybe some of the challenges that we went through, what does dropping down the ladder look like for you in your space, Paris, for other women who are in academia now or in whatever other profession they have chosen? What does helping others mean for you?
Thank you very much. As I keep on repeating, research is actually teaching, it's actually mentoring. The woman is a quantity and a quality resource for development. Let's encourage our daughters and our gender to invest in their careers. We occasionally go out and mentor women in the field, because we do research in sugarcane. We go to the field. We mentor them in all other areas, leave alone the one that I know, the chemistry I know. We mentor them even on the kitchen garden. And I like that one, because then I can see my fellow woman who did not go to university or school, economically coming up, being able to feed her children. And what my colleague there said, then the man, you'll not wait for the man to come in the evening for you to feed your children. So getting down there as low as possible, leaving my research and going down to my fellow woman is very important for me.
Prof, what does that mean for you, empowerment? And what does a center like this represent for women? How do we take it beyond, we're going to name this in honor of Madam Grace? And then what? What does this mean now for young women and those to come?
Well, I have to say that see, when you say good things about the governor, people may complain, but I'm going to say one good one, and that is that when a leader opens a platform where people can share ideas, it's a very good thing. So we've already started today, and nothing stops us from having many more debates on this subject. Secondly, I want to say that I wanted to say two things. I see that we have a real generational issue here, which is not bad, but mentoring, takes time. And the less time people have, the less mentorship now is available. So I think it's a very special effort to get young people to come and learn something. I do this a lot casually, and I do it formally also, because my father was a mentor and my mother was under the tree. Now we do it, you have to ask somebody, what do you want to become? And this question baffles kids all the time. What do you want to become? I don't know. I have no idea. I haven't thought about it. Well, think about it. What do you want to become? Who can help you to become that person that you want to become? Where are you going to look for this help? And when people come to you, then you must sit down and say, okay, sit down, I want to hear all about it. Don't just throw them away and say, oh, I'm a little bit busy now. Come next week. No, sit down. Either give them an appointment or sit down with them that moment and say, I'd like to talk to you. Come on this particular day, let's talk about this. What do you want to become? You already give them that idea. But I would like to see us have more conversations about this, because I personally think that there is good in the old, and there are some things that must be discarded. There's some very good new things, but they're a bit dangerous, and we don't know quite how they're going to take us. I'm not very happy about this slay queen thing. I do not like the idea that women feel that they can make money by knowing somebody who has money. I find that bothers me. And I think we need to learn how you make your own money and make your own dignity, and also get some from wherever, but don't make it be the main thing and be flaunting it, because I have real difficulty with this. And you know, we've lost a lot of young women who have died in the course of this. So it's not a simple matter. Then secondly, I'd like to think that leadership, whether of women or men, should be more diverse. I think we've narrowed the leadership far too much to the political, and there's so many other things that people are leading in that are kind of falling apart. Teachers are leaders. Nurses are leaders. Oh, women who are sweeping the street are leaders. Women who are widows are leaders. Women who are married are leaders. I think there's a time in life when you kind of really have to navigate this thing. The man wants to go forward, the woman wants to go forward, and you both must navigate how it's going to be, how you are going to negotiate that relationship. I regret that Phoebe Asio isn't here today, but she was my mentor, and when I was first taken to her by my late brother, he took me in the morning, and she was in the prison's uniform. She was a prison's officer. Tall woman with a hat, the people saluting everywhere, the driver and Land Rover, and I was like, okay, what is this? And she was very much on top of her game. And she was married with children. And what she later told me, and which she has written in her book, is most people should try to find Phoebe Asio's autobiography. It's a very telling book. There were times when you have to fight with your husband. You have to fight a little bit because he's not seeing your point and you don't want to go back, and you kind of have a solution. You can't just fight without a solution. Have something you're going to share and say, okay, I think that if we do it like this, it'll work. Then he may say, oh no, it won't work. Then you know how men tend to go away and give you trouble, and then they come back and say, Nyakodongo, I think you were right. So you have to give room for that time to have a little patience. I know it's not going to go down well with younger people, but there's always a time when you introduce an idea and then wait for some response. And in the beginning, I know that when I was getting married, I was already somebody who had an idea of who I was. My husband was a career man. And the first thing we discussed was, you know, I go for seminars. I'm invited to conferences, and I can be gone for a week. So you'd have to understand that when I'm invited, it's a professional invitation, and I'm not just going to gallivant in Europe. And we kind of agreed on that very early, because he also went for seminars and conferences, and we just understood. We tried to go to some together, but there are many that I went to on my own, and we already had agreed that this was going to be part of my profession. So sometimes not saying something does not help. You have to share and discuss. And if the other person says, you see, you know your husband, if he really doesn't want to do it, you have to wait a bit and see what is it that he wants, what's the solution he's providing. If no solution comes forth, then you come back again with the same old thing and say, but you know, I was waiting for you to decide and I didn't have anything forthcoming. This is my position. And you know, this is the way it's gonna go. You cannot, living together is a very tricky business, and you have to be able to go back and forth and discuss and agree and disagree and so on. But you can't just, my mother used to say, you can't just lie down and be grass and be stepped on. That's not an option.
And neither can you be a bull in a china shop, right? So it's just, you know, going in forcefully and pushing your ideas. I think what you're talking about is the power of negotiation.
Negotiate,
right.
And be open, yes. And be straightforward. Don't sort of say, don't sulk and just simply sulk and right. Say, oh, you know, he doesn't like to let me go to conference. But did you tell him you were going to go to conference? No, you didn't say anything. So I think that you need to negotiate, and you need to be willing sometimes to give a little and say, maybe this conference is not too important, I will stay because my husband is getting really upset.
Right.
Or sometimes you ask him if he wants to go with you.
Okay. Well, that's one way of looking at it. There's the whole generational divide that we see between Grace Anyango, Phoebe Asio. We have Prof here who's done some wonderful things, and you'd mentioned that, there's a paradigm shift, right? But, at the end of it, though, the basics are the same, right? The fight is the same, the negotiation is the same. What would you say, Beatrice, about bridging that divide, about learning from, what was there before, about incorporating new ideas, and about bringing the two together, so that we go forward? Because learning from history is very important, and perhaps that's something we need to do better with. How do we bridge the generational divide between the young and the old, particularly the women?
Thank you, Yvonne. Admittedly, a lot has changed, but at the same time, a lot has remained the same. The way we perceive women has largely remained the same. A woman grows, goes to school, to college, or does not reach there, is expected to marry, have kids, maybe mix it with career at the sides, take good care of the home, and that is it. Career can be anything, professional, political, business, or any other. But the fields have changed. Players have remained the same. The names of the games the same. But I think the rules and the balls that we are kicking or throwing have changed a bit. So we need to have a mental shift, both men and women. Let me give an example. At the moment, a woman who is a mother and a career person who is joining politics now has a lot of feedback. Everybody has a voice to speak. Unlike in a political rally where we were just people gathered for a day and people are speaking, then they go home, what is covered by the traditional media like radio or TV will cover it, and that is the end of the day. Today it's a little different. The tools are more sophisticated. I'm seated here. Inadvertently, I may have sat a little badly. Without knowing, somebody may have snapped it. And I'm an aspirant. You can imagine the next 50 minutes or even 30, what would be going on in the social media. By the time it is brought to my attention, I'm totally broken. The damage is irreparable. The likes of our great lady Grace Onyango may not have gone through that in the same way. Technology has given everyone a voice, including someone who would not even look at your direction. Everybody now has a platform, make or break. And the louder you shout, the more people want to believe you. We no longer know what is fake and what is real. And we are not educated enough. If I'm a political leader and you continuously get negative coverage, regardless of who is behind it, I'll tell you that for expediency and to also save my back, please resign. Give us a little break, because this thing is contagious. It may also get to me. So, how are we going to play it? The demands now on the players, even academically, professionally, look at it. Right now, the competition for papers has gone overboard. Somebody comes to you with 3 or 4 PhDs, that he cannot even explain his research. They're there. So many beautiful CVs that when they open their mouths, you lose faith in humanity. Tell me, with this as leaders, how are you going to filter the chaff from the wheat? How are we going to recruit? And this is where women are competing in. Women, you don't know whether to be cunning. You don't know whether to also get the papers so that you look relevant. Besides, they say you must be noticed, like she told us. Everybody's in the stage. Everybody's acting. And now you must be recognized by the audience. How are you going to be recognized? And that recognition is a serious social capital. That is what sells. Some people have realized that just for the sake of being recognized, let me do something awkward. You know, you just need popularity. In order for your name to be mentioned, in those points that decision is made. So you see, the game has changed. And this game, from wherever it's heading, is normalizing what was frowned at before. Right now, walking and stripping every morning, and I'm filmed, and I have masses following me and cheering me, sells than you standing there prostrate at a platform, preaching to 3 people, telling them to change their ways. You are like a beautiful lady and a man, and the man is winking at you in the dark. He's the only one who knows what he's doing. So, the rule has totally changed in a big way. The former bad things, right now, you people, the likes of our dear Grand Lady Grace, I visited her. I was writing a story. And she tells me they could be told that a man would stand and say, I saw you with so and so. In other words, like you're having an affair or sleeping with so and so. And I have your panty, I've brought it to you. Men would tell her at the podium. I guess telling a woman today that you saw a panty somewhere would not cause a sleepless night. Nobody gives a hoot. You tell a lady you were seen with so and so. What is strange? I thought you were going to tell me you saw me kissing a lion. That would have been news. But me with a fellow man. So in our present times, some people are even lauded. You got there. The means is immaterial. You get it? Because when something becomes too commonplace, scandal and scandal and scandal and scandal, and they take almost a similar tone, we consider it as normal. In fact, standing as a politician, as a leader, it has become normal to be told that you raised your skirt in order to get there. We simply tell you, why don't you raise yours, or do you lack one? Because that is what they're now saying. So my dear sisters, we are at a crossroad and we are trying to find which way to go. Things are muddled. And whichever way you take, the values were good. They're still very good. We would want to be upright. We would want to be fair and just. We would want merit to go before anything else. But it takes a lot of structural changes in the system. The people at the top, decision-making echelons, must hear the voices of the people down. We say even a single voice in the world, when everyone is silent, counts. It becomes very loud. At the base of the pyramid, we are many. Women, we are many. And when you are crowded, it is okay to fight each other for space. We are fighting each other to be clerks, to be cooks, to sell mboga by the roadside. But rarely do we think, who does the location? Who chooses? Who informs where this allocation is done? Do they consider our numbers, even if you are selling mboga? Where the decision is made, we are not there. Where it is being implemented, we are killing each other down here. When one of us is made a prime minister, no, we can't sleep. The men are saying we are doing so well, we are doing so well. Oh, women are now prime minister. Surely, just one up there, having people around her to make decisions who are of a different gender, who may not that they really want to suppress us. They may just not know exactly what we want and how we want it done. But when we are there, we can do it ourselves. She did it. Look at the changes she introduced in 1965. Before most of us, our parents had not even thought of conceiving or getting married. And there she was already fighting her way as a councillor, as a mayor, seeing that there were gaps and employing women. Almost 50 years later, we are still fighting in offices for these low positions when our qualifications are as good as theirs. And I want to advise every lady here that a lot of decision making calls for wisdom and policies. You can hire technocrats to give you specialized knowledge and skills if you have the wisdom to do so. And when it is presented to you, you do not need aeronautical engineering to know that this is good, it works in this way and that way. So with whatever we have, let nobody throw you away because you have a Form 4 certificate. In Kenya, at times there's a thin line between a Form 4 certificate and a master's degree. Tell what is behind that Form 4 certificate that you can do. Let us go for those key positions, not just in politics, in church, in the corporate world, everywhere, including in the village baraza. Leadership is not given. You must demonstrate. You ladies, when you have to tell people that I'm a lady, you know I'm a lady, then you are not. There's a problem. If you are a girl or a lady, then it stands out. Do you have to tell people I'm a lady? I know I am, and I won't tell you that. A leader must not tell people I'm a leader. Grab the opportunity and act it. There is space. Grab the opportunity and act it. Nobody's gonna give us. Thank you.
Absolutely. And it now falls to you to give your final word.
Yeah, that's a nice one. Gender equality. And the women, I would start by saying that being a woman is priceless. And I repeat, being a woman is priceless. What most women usually forget is their worth. You don't know your worth and let other people decide for you what you want to be. So can we start believing in what we want as women? If you don't believe in a course, if you choose to be a teacher or you choose education line, do it and do it thoroughly well until nobody is left behind without education. If you choose to advocate for a right, do it until no right is left unturned. If you choose to be a farmer, make sure your maize, your beans, your millet is perfect when it's taken to the market. If you choose to talk and talk well. If you choose to be quiet, do not utter a word. So that you are distinguished, people need to know who you are and what is your worth. So I'll tell the women, you must find yourself in a space, whichever space. What I don't want to hear is women telling us, oh, me, just me. No, what can I say? You have something to say. I believe when now you are being wooed by a husband, or when you are courting, you had a lot of words to talk about, and you could talk the whole night, the whole day in those phones. Can't you use the same words to get a space for yourself? So women must learn to negotiate, and as you negotiate and reason, you must be having political or maybe current affairs right. You cannot be talking of the death of Biwott in this century. You're asking somebody if Biwott died today. And I mean, women, you're letting us down. And you know, up to the last beat of Maria in the TV series. So we are letting ourselves down. So you watch a soap opera, and tell the same story to a woman for 2 hours and you watch it at the same time, because you must have alerted one another. Sasa ni wakati ya this soap opera. So you watch it together again, you spend another 2 hours discussing about the same thing. So can't we use our time well? Time is not on our side, and if we waste our time on time wasters like gossips and talking on things that will not help us, that's how the world will judge us. They'll see us as women of no substance. Can we be women of substance so that when you open your mouth at any given time, you are on top of things by following the current affairs? Can we go for public participation? I'll tell you most budgets. If you look at the county CIDP, even some of us do not know we are in which one. Maybe I'll tell you in the second one. We are in the process of reviewing the second. Actually, the review of the second one is already done. We've moved to the third one. So if your issues are not found in the CIDP, that's the strategic plan of any county government, you shall not find them in the ADPs, the annual development plans. And because they are not there, you will not find them in any fiscal year budget. And because they are not in those budgets, there will be no implementation, because no government will implement out of no budget. So women, we go for public. When we are called for public participation, could we now inform courts and come up with the position paper? If you are not aware, you call up the women, just what she's talked about, or maybe the men. You sit together and come up with a position, and you know that during public participation, you have a substance to present. So this is really the area that we are not performing well as women, because we do not attend public participation. And most decisions are made from this public participation. You go to a chief baraza at 7, maybe they're usually in the afternoon, so you go at around 2 or 1 o'clock, then men come in at 4. Your work is just to stand and leave for them to sit, and you sit on the ground. So you think you're doing them a honor, and they look at you as a stupid person, because you don't know your worth. So I'm talking about women knowing their worth. So if you are not able to give anything of substance, then nobody will give you time, because time is money, and time is such a big credit. So I want to encourage all the women that find yourself doing something in the community, even if it's the church. Find a place in the church to participate in, and strongly participate until you identify with such a position. We are lacking mentorship as women, and that's why I would say that's why we had a gap between Honorable maybe Grace Okot and Grace Onyango. It really took us a long time for women again to come up, because there was no mentorship. Even the women who are in leadership today, I want to implore you and just ask you to try and mentor the girls, mentor the young women, so that when you leave this position, we do not have a whole gap, again trying to bring up other women to take up these positions. And you must find yourself in decision-making tables. Most women, when you call them to go to the media, wanakwambia nywele yangu ni mbaya, I don't know, my shoes are what, I'm putting high heels, it's 10 o'clock. I stand the radios up to midnight. I'll get home anyway. If anything, I live in my county. If I die for the good of the people. Because you've been living that house doing a lot of nothing, because you are a liability in the house. So can you start being an asset to both the nation, the community, and yourself in the house? I want to take our men to some phrases in the Bible. I didn't tell you I'm also a very strong Christian in the CPK Church, and I'm the organizing secretary of the Mothers Union and the development chair, but do I say? In 1 Peter 3:7, we are reminded that likewise, husbands, live with your wives in understanding way, showing honor to the woman as the weaker vessel. And the Bible also was written, I'm not complaining, but we are no longer weaker vessel, but we are still weak in the eyes of the Lord. Don't complain. Since they are heirs with you of the grace of life, so that your prayers may not be hindered. If you are a man and you do not treat your wife as a weaker vessel, if you are a colleague of a woman in an office and you mistreat them, if you are a leader and you not do right to the women, I can tell you for sure, your prayers will never be heard. They will be hindered in any way. You could be even an MP today, but you cannot drink water in your own house. You could be an inspector general as a man, but without treating a woman as a weaker vessel and listening to the inner voice of this woman, treating her as somebody who's worth before the eyes of the Lord, created in the image of the Lord as you are, your prayers shall never be heard. That says the Bible in 1 Peter 3:7. Those are not my words. So men, now you understand why you can never have peace in your houses, even if you have lots of money in the bank. The money will remain there, but you'll be crying all night. You'll not be sleeping in your house. You'll just be sleeping in hotels, hoovering, changing sheets and blankets, sleeping the beds that you don't know where they come from, sharing with other men, because you not treat your wife with the utmost faithfulness and the respect that she deserves. your prayers, whichever the position you hold, if you do not respect a woman and treat her as a weaker vessel, the Lord is telling us your prayers shall be hindered.
Amen.
Number 2, we are reminded in Genesis 1:2-7 that so God created a man in his own image, male and female, he created them. He did not say that the men were the best in the image of the Lord. If you're a woman and you're a man, you are created in the image of the Lord. So can we now, as men or as a society or a community, start believing that a woman and a man, we are all created in the image of the Lord? But, God took his time. The woman created on the 8th. We are told practice makes perfect. First day he just talked, let there be, let there be, let there be. I think even this man was, let there be. It's only woman who was created from a rib. And he said, flesh from my flesh, rib from my rib. Something. If the woman is not there, you'll feel comfortable. Have you ever stayed with a broken rib? If you have a broken rib within you, can you work? Can you perform? Can you be in those positions if a woman is not within you? Meaning, if a woman is not working with you, you have a broken rib. And if you have a broken rib, then you are a sick person. And that you are an invalid. And for that reason, the community will never perform. Because you are taking care of the community when you are sick, because the woman is missing. Lastly, the Samson and Delilah story. Delilah of Gaza. When the men laid all the strategies to finish Samson, and this we are told, the people, they sat down and they thought to give him a woman called Delilah so that this lady could identify where the strength is. I can tell you, my brothers and sisters, it's only the women who know where the strength of the nation lies. It is just the women who know where the strength of the nation lies. Until you realize that a woman is there to help you and get the strength of an enemy, you shall never defeat these wars. Even the political wars that we have. For a woman who is in political life, their life remains as a soap opera. So before you realize there's a role that these women are playing, rather than putting their lives to be soap operas in politics, you will never win this war until the women will tell you where the strength of this nation, the strength of these men, the strength of the development, the strength of management of this nation lies. You will never get it right. So kindly look for this woman to find where the strength of Samson lies, the way the Delilah did. Finally, on the Bible, Jeremiah
Finally.
31:22. That's what I said finally.
Okay.
How long will you waver, O faithless daughter? For the Lord has created a new thing on the earth, a woman encircles a man. Men, we are saying that we must be together, because without women, the world cannot be the same. Kama wanawake hawako, wanaume hawako. And kama wanawake sasa wako sana, wanaume hawatakuwa. I don't know if my Kiswahili is right, but what I'm saying, without the women, the men will not be there terribly. So finally, I would say this. The women realize that you are the circle, you encompass the world. And I'm telling you, the nation building belongs to you. The wisdom, the people who are elderly in this room, we are giving you the wisdom of the nation. Treat it well. Do not use your wisdom to negotiate your position as the wise men of this nation. That is really killing us. And youth, we need to use our productive age to build our nation, support the women, not abusing through social media. If you abuse a woman who is the age mate of your mother, the laws will say it. It will just mean if your manhood is interfered with, you are no longer a man. So embrace women. Let's work together. The women of power, women of substance. Thank you.
Amen. There was a lot of amen from this side of the room where I can see many members of the clergy, so you're in good company, but thank you for demonstrating that so well. And thank you to you all. I think we have time for maybe one or two comments. I see your hand over there. Could we just make them brief? Give us your name, like literally in a minute. And if your comment has been made, so sorry, please put your hands up again. Okay, I see the two of you here, and I see the two ladies here. I think that's what we will take. Tafadhali in 1 minute so that we can take a break for lunch.
Thank you very much, and thank you, panelists, for that wonderful discussion. My name is Moses Kidi. I work in the NGO sector, and I'm a social scientist by profession. I think what has been mentioned here is actually what we've been deliberating in most of the discussions. But I want to bring to the attention, especially now that we have the governor here and the stakeholders who are seated here, that as we are seeking for gender parity, it should not be seen that we are competing between males and females. And this actually is what even affected us when we are trying to introduce family planning program, because there's a lot of exclusion. We were not involving the men in terms of now promoting family planning services. So what I want to appeal to the stakeholders that are here, that we need to look at now what the professor said. What is our level playing down? We are looking at negotiation. It's not about bringing the boy child to fight the girl child. That is actually what is happening now. The socialization process, what I want to appeal is that now we need to start looking at how do we introduce a new resocialization process through what we call life skills. How do we train the boy child? How do we train the girl child to be able to understand that we are all equal and we have all equal capacities, so that we don't abuse your boy, that you cannot perform well in school, you're behaving like a lady. When a girl child is becoming out strong, you're saying you're behaving like a man. You're going to be mistaken. So what we are appealing to this is that how do we review our thinking so that now it doesn't sound like, I had some of the presenters presenting like now it's a fight between males and females. It should not be like that. It should be about recognizing that we all have equal capacities and we should all accept the inherent capacities that we have so that we can build and support each other in terms of bringing development in our country. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Right next to him, oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, it has to be sanitized. So, yeah. So carry on. Please keep it brief.
Okay.
Sorry, carry on.
Hello, my name is Caleb, and I want to say first that I was a student here in nursery. Another thing is that I find it very disturbing that we the men of this generation from 90s, we are finding very difficult because, you know, during my time, we had maybe Grace Onyango and maybe Margaret Kenyatta as the leaders. Nowadays we have too many leaders and maybe too many women are overpowering men. And I have a problem in that. In other words, we are reaching an era where women will be marrying men. Yeah, I have a problem there.
Now you've just raised the storm. There's the gentleman in the pink shirt, sorry, who was next to the one who spoke in just a moment. I'm sure Prof would have something to say about the evidence of women being, more powerful than men, like in terms of numbers. But anyway.
I'm Daniel Opio. I'm
Yes,
taking
Daniel.
just 30 seconds. The panelists, have you ever had lowest moments in your lives? Someone may be interested to know because you never gave us that very clearly.
Okay, interesting question. Let's come here. There's the lady in purple and then the lady at the front in yellow. I think we will, once we finish with them, then we can come here and keep our responses really brief. Yes.
Thank you. I'm proud of the panelists, being that I am a woman. My name is Roseanne Rajema, branch manager of YWCA Kisumu, which is envisioned to empower women and girls. And Winnie is one of our mentors. And this organization was formed courtesy of one of the powerful women you don't know, maybe you know, the late mother to our Excellency, the Governor. She's one of the people who founded YWCA in 1968. So we exist because the powerful women went ahead of us. My question, what do we do as women leaders when everyone tells you your idea doesn't work? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. And then over here, front row in yellow.
Thank you, our amazing panelists, for sharing your wonderful journeys. My name is Farida Salim. I am a member of Kisumu City Board. And as we celebrate this day, first I want to say a big thank you to our governor for having honored a woman. And that woman is Mama Grace Onyango. When you honor a woman, you honor women. So the women of this county, today is a big day for us because we feel honored by our governor. Now, I want to ask the great men and women inside this room that we have been showed the way by our panelists, and so we must ask ourselves, beyond this day, what next? For me, beyond this day, we must move from presence to influence. This center has not just happened today. The journey of women into leadership has not just happened. It has been a long, tedious journey, full of many cries, full of frustrations, and full of also some achievements. And so we are saying we must move from presence to influence. This center should be able to transform, to counter the many challenges that our youths are faced with, so that we turn together those challenges into opportunities for self-transformation. This is a challenge that I'm throwing back to all of us. And as I finish, we as women, we have really burnt the midnight oil to help mentor our girls. Unfortunately, we keep on hearing men saying, "Why are you leaving out the boy child?" Surely, and I also have a challenge to pose to our men. What are you doing about the boy child? Because it is only men who understand the boys better. It is women who understand the girls better. The women have demonstrated we are doing something about our girls. What are the men doing about the boys? I rest my case. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much from all of that. We really are pressed for time, so I'd like us to just do a quick round. There was the response, the question on what your low moment was or your most challenging was. If you can, in just a minute.
My lowest time was when I was told to go back to university to do my master's. And my daughter was also in the university. But today I'm so happy that the day I sowed that seed, I've reaped the fruit. Now I have my master's, which I'm so able to use even to get onto the position that I'm having as a vice of the Kisumu city. I was so devastated going to school to do masters with babies. It was not easy, but I sailed through. And today I've reaped the seed that I sowed. I'm now eating the fruits. And I think they were apples.
Right. Yes, and interesting about how you are standing out in the midst of something that is very different. Thanks for that, Paris. Prof?
Thank you. I had two challenges among many, but the first one was when I was fired from a job. You can imagine with all my qualifications and I was fired.
So that happens to people like you who are qualified as well.
It happens to everybody. I was very upset, but I was also happy in the end to have left that job because it wasn't a job that I fitted very well. And when I went to the next one, I was more successful. So sometimes there's a purpose for a fit. In a job, you may get a job for which you're not really qualified. Second thing was that as a mother, one of my children could not read. I was having a lot of trouble with this. The child was bright, playful, could not read. So I started to think about it. I'm saying this because for you parents who may face something like this, I noticed that when I sat next to him when he was doing his homework, he would get it done. But when I went to do my other things, he had a total block. So I started to look at that particular little thing and see how much time I would need to give him to work on this thing and train him slowly, because the other two were very quick and I had no real work to do with their homework. But with this one I had to train. So sometimes you have a child who's slow, and then he's turned out to be the most brilliant of the three of them now. So I'm really happy to tell that story because I think patience pays.
Indeed. Such a personal one. Beatrice?
I've realized that as a person, what really touches me more are things that are very close to my heart. And one, the core of my heart is the family. Anything that touches on my family hurts me severely. And I think in my life, that is what has caused me to hit the rock bottom, when I had to tear my family myself. And I still believe that when you have turmoil in your backyard, right in your heart, then nothing seems to work out there. It becomes very difficult. So for me, the thing that I value most is what has caused me the lowest moment in my life. Secondly, there are certain things that are institutional and impact a lot of lives. And in this arena that we play in at high levels, you may be twisted so ruthlessly to participate in a decision that will haunt you forever. I think that is the second lowest moment in my life, when I had to be a party to a group that severed the career and life of an otherwise industrious and somebody that personally I consider hardworking, but I had to give in to collective responsibility. So I believe those have been two key lowest moments of my life. And I'm proud to say that each day I struggle to get out of them. So those are some battles that I believe in life you have to live with for the rest of your life.
Thank you. And as you answer your lowest moment, I think there was also the question about what to do when your ideas keep being beaten down or disregarded or ignored. Maybe you could do the two of those just really quickly.
Okay, thank you. Let me start. Let me start with the questions from Roseanne. That's what the women leaders, all the time they get it wrong. I would say that before you come up with an idea, let the idea come from the people. Where we live today is not a world where we would used to decide for the people. Kindly, the idea that you want to craft, if you want to have any strategy or any management issue that you want to do, get the ideas for the people around you. You cannot be a problem solver when you do not know the problem. So for you, for your idea to work, make sure it's people generated and you are sorting out a problem rather than coming up with innovation or maybe a program that you think will suit them and maybe it's not for them. If they want a portion meal, do not give them a wheelbarrow. So give them what they want. Another thing on women and leaders, we need to get the best practices from our leaders who've been there before. Sometimes it's very hard to come up with the strategies and just innovations without working from existing practices. So usually before you lay out any strategy, it's good to consult. And I will tell the women, consult, consult, and consult. Sometimes when you consult, it does not mean that you're a weaker vessel, but you just want to make yourself better. So consultation will also work for you. For my brother Moses, you asked why we talk about gender parity and we are feeling that is a competition between a male child and the female. Actually, that is what it is. It's competition. Why do people even compete in politics? And we don't have number one or number two. So until the women get to number one, when we are still at 20% leadership and the men have 80, we have to compete. So we are competing to get to 80%, and you be at 20, or at least be at 50-50. So that's what we call two-third gender role. If you can't join us, so that we are at 50-50. We'll try to make our way to be there so that you are a third and we are 2/3. So we are competing, though. Yeah, we are competing. Then for Caleb, you said you are a student here, good for you. You are able to see it the day to day. Then Janet Opio, the lowest moment, fine, I'll answer that lastly. Then Farida is saying, beyond this day, what next? I want to call upon my fellow women and the men that discussion has been on the women. But we want to appreciate that we cannot have a world with the women only or with the males only. We need one another. So once we embrace one another and we know that for us to function well, the left and the right must be able to operate together to form an equilibrium. If it's only the left, the right will not do other things. If it's only the right, the left will also be limping. So let us try to be symmetrical by making the left and the right function so that at the end of the day, the men have got a portion, the women have got a portion, and the nation will be healthy. On my lowest moment, I have, I think, about 3, but lowest in good English would mean 1. But I think they're tying a number. The 1 was when I lost my grandmom. I told you I was orphaned at 10 years. So it's my grandmom who's taken me through the life. So when I lost her in 2015, I've not been able to go back to my home and reach the compound. I've been just going next to our home and call my cousins and we discuss things, and I really avoid seeing a grave. So I've not been strong enough. Maybe Bishop Winnie, you need really to intervene. I need deliverance. I've never been home because I lost my grandmother just within the compound. I reached the gate and I just turned back. I can't stand seeing my grandmother lying there after all this that she did to me, and I've not been where she was. Another point is when I saw a 6-year-old girl really defiled, and I would say the front part and the back part. I don't want to talk about those jungle languages and just broad daylight right now. It was such a bad thing, and she had to go through surgeries, and I was wondering why they were raping, or that's not a rape, that's a defilement. Why they were defiling this 6-year-old girl. And they keep on telling the women that's the way we dress. And this girl, no, what did the man see in a 6-year-old woman? So even if you put on the buibus like my sister Farida, you'll still rape us. If you put on pampers, you will still defile the children. If the old women come with the big shorts and in those round dresses, will still be raped. So the society is really violent. And to me, that still rings in my mind, seeing a 6-year-old child really in raptures, and she was just messed up, and I can just imagine without a uterus, and maybe she'll not be able to have a child. It's so it's such a
I'm so sorry.
It's not a nice scene for the girl child. So to me, that was it's really been playing in my mind, having so many girls getting defiled. And the very tender age, 12-year-old girls, 11-year, 10-year-old, having been made pregnant and going through family life. I imagine when I was 12 years, 10 years, now if maybe I was pregnant then, I really feel bad. And when I see any girl defiled at the age of 10, 12, it tears me so much. Then lastly is on the political arena. I think in 2017, I wanted to vie as a women MC and Migosi Ward. I did all that I could, but just before nomination in December, I had to go through surgeries. So that was really my lowest point, but I thank God we are still alive, and 2022 is just about the corner, and the women, we are there.
Amen. I want to say a special thank you to all of you, and thank you for sharing parts of your lives that were both enlightening. In certain cases, they were heartbreaking, but we learned from that, and we celebrate each and every one of you. Janet, for everything you have been through and to still be standing. You know, we celebrate you in every single way. Beatrice, you are no ordinary woman, not by any means or standards. Prof, it's been so good to just hear about your journey, about your trailblazing, about being a woman, about learning negotiation skills. Paris, for all the work that you're doing in the research arena, we are thankful to each and every one of you. I want to thank you. I mean, coming up here and discussing this and discussing some of your personal challenges, failings, and how you overcame that is something that cannot be gainsaid. I want to just wrap up with this, some of the quotes that have come out of this discussion. One, that we are moving from presence to influence. that women are leaders everywhere, in all spheres, not just in politics. We've heard about it in church, in the village, in barazas, in professional circles. We must look at it wholesomely and in a 360 view. And that there is evidence in our history and in the culture of our people of the power of a woman. And that lastly, being a woman is priceless, but it's all about knowing your worth. And finally, that it's something we have to walk together. My takeaway is no one can walk around with a broken rib. So that means we do it together. We must do it together, and we're all important. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the power of a woman today. And I'm so glad that we get to honor women and we get to honor the great Grace Anyango. And thank you so much to the ladies up here. Thank you for your feedback. It's been a wonderful discussion. Over to you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, with that we wrap up our first session of the morning program. We'll be shortly proceeding for lunch. But before that, as they step down, I want to call upon Freddie to come and give us a performance, after which I'll call upon Archbishop Winnie Owiti to pray for the lunch. Feel most welcomed and enjoy yourselves. Tusimame. You can join in the song. You know the song. Prof, that is real talent from Kisumu. And before we proceed for lunch, let's have a word of prayer from Archbishop Winnie. He will be right here in the afternoon hours.
Shall we pray? Father, we just want to thank you again for giving us the opportunity to listen to great women that, Lord God Almighty, you have allowed to speak into our lives today. We thank you that we are social beings and you created us man and woman. And Father God, you are reminding us again that today we need each other. And that you created us to not to compete with one another, but to complete one another. And so we thank you today for the power of a woman. And Lord God, we know that a woman was not a forgotten project before you, but you created her to accomplish something in this life. And so help us, even as we relaunch and this social center, that we will work together as men and women. Bless us physically, spiritually, and mentally. We thank you even as we go for the food. We pray that it is blessed. Take away coronavirus from us as we socialize from one another. Give us good health and let our air be fresh, that we will breathe life and enjoy one another. Thank you for this meeting in this social center. Bless us, I pray, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. We meet after lunch. You may proceed for lunch.
Healthcare provision has been a challenge for the region with the response to emergencies leading. Modernization of the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital was one of the major flagship projects initiated by Governor Peter Anyang' Nyong'o in his campaign manifesto. In realization to this, the following changes are evident.
When we were given the challenge, how do we modernize Jaramogi Oginga Teaching and Referral Hospital, we did a situation analysis, and we realized that our area of weakness lies in emergency response. So we had to boost our emergency capability. And therefore, under that, we decided that for us to do it well, we need to reduce the time to respond to emergencies. And therefore, the project that we are undertaking is to build doctor's program suites, which means that you don't have to get doctors from Nahera, then you come back, you get another piece, you come back, you get the next person. So not only are you reducing the response, but you're also saving money. And so we decided that we needed to build doctors' call-room suites, so that if you are on call, then you are within the hospital compound. All those fellows who work as a team are within the hospital compound.
Under construction are the doctor's suite, funeral parlor, parking area, and an intensive facelift at the casualty to help with emergency cases.
Now the second area in line with that was to develop our infrastructure and emergency and accident center, what is otherwise known as casualty. We wanted to improve the flow of patients, so that patients, traditionally when you go to OPDs, and even before the modernization, patients go to the doctors. In the emergencies, the doctors and the nurses who go to the patients. And so our design for emergency center is based on that. The flow is the clinicians, that's the nurses, the doctors, are the ones that move to the patient. That is very tremendous because our design throughout the country has never taken this into consideration. So we are modernizing that.
With the introduction of new services that were never there before, legitimacy and relevance in provision of healthcare services has been achieved.
For example, bronchoscopy. We didn't have bronchoscopy for a long time, and so we prioritize it. From 2016 up to now, when we are taking statistics, there were around 200 patients. 200 patients that we were referring outside to remove either coins from their lungs and all that. And patients would perish along the way, or when they reach there, it's pretty late. That one we zeroed in.
New equipment such as laparoscopy, chromoscopy, endoscopy. To add on to this, we have a new CT scan with 64 slides, a fully equipped MRI unit with an MRI machine, and an oncology center with a chemo shield.
One of the machines that we have received latest is endoscopy machine that is behind me, and it is also helping us because clients were being seen or patients were being seen at Aga Khan. That is very costly, or small specialist.
This is our CT scan room. We have a new CT scan machine, a 64 slide machine, which we usually use for diagnostics. A CT scan machine it's a scanner. It scans different parts of the body. It's a diagnostic machine. Usually, after the images are acquired, they are interpreted by the radiologist, and a report is given to the doctors who now treat the patients.
We also looked at a modernization in terms of, filling the gap for and therefore introducing new services that we were referring to either Moi or Kenyatta. And these services are endoscopy, laparoscopy, and the colonoscopy, which is also part of actually endoscopic procedure. Now these services were never available. The reason why we thought that we needed to introduce them is because the demand was so huge, and there was a lot of capital flight from Kisumu County and the area. And part of our responsibility is to reduce societal cost in health. And so when we have them, then of course we are making people also to receive the services that they are demanding highly. But again, the other reason that we are doing it, as a big institution, we are also competing for resources from sources, and therefore it's part of our legitimacy and relevance. So not only were we doing these new services to meet the demand, but also to be relevant in the world of healthcare. It's very, very important for us. The same legitimacy and relevance made us also to put the parking. We have to have a good parking area, and that is very important for the patient, but also very important for people who are seeking services in our institution. You can't have dust all over you, and hospitals are known to be places where we have diseases. So if there's dust, wind comes in, and then you are breathing the same dust that contains TB and all that. All this we had to put to a stop. So that informed the reason why we are putting our parking.
The use of neuroscience to reduce capital flight from Kisumu County to other counties to cater for the demand and promote medical tourism in the region.
When you want to improve your services, then you have to have a model. So we had to choose an area of medicine that would impact also in other areas as we go along. So we chose neuroscience mainly because one, we had a strong international collaboration that would help us realize a dream. And so we chose neuroscience as a center of excellence. And this is what we are doing. We are known now for neuroscience because we carry massive neuroscience activities, at least in routine, but mostly 4 times in a year. And so neuroscience would help this region. But we also want to anchor ourselves as a tourism destination as far as neuroscience is concerned. We want to be known and probably improve our economy based on an area of health that we are good at, and that's neuroscience.
With the completion of the modernization of the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospitals, patients will be able to access free, affordable and quality healthcare under one roof, saving on costs to be incurred on referral cases, Kisumu being one of the pilot UHC counties.
We are serving patients with NHIF free without being given us any money for registration. Same to UHC. So long as you have a universal health cover, we are serving you free of charge. Now, since this UHC started, we have received so many patients per day. At casualty alone, we have got our patient services, those who are being treated and going home, about 700 or 800 per day. Casualty alone. Night, that is 24 hours, day and night.
We're at Jaramogi Hospital and screening for cancer is ongoing, cervical, breast and prostate. And we're encouraging all the women in their reproductive ages to come in and know their status. So we'd really like to encourage everyone to take advantage of this, not just today and tomorrow, but actually this clinic that we have opened here at Jaramogi Hospital is open every day, Monday to Friday, for walk-in screening. So everybody is welcome.
By then there were so many problems. 2015, the radiotherapy machines were there, the queues were so long,
if it is
it would
detected
take ages and
it can be treated.
I don't think there's any family which has had
totally eliminated. We also like to encourage
if you look at
all
the
the
military
parents
strategy for the country,
young
you
girls
have three
aged
pillars.
10
One is prevention
to come
and early
and
detection.
have their daughters
When we're talking about
vaccinated.
prevention, we're talking about
Because
detecting
that
people
will
who are
give them
normal, like you
a
and me
life
walking along the streets.
guaranteed of
Those are the
no
guys you want to go to hospital.
Once we are diagnosed in the early stages, we treat you even on the spot. There's a sign of what we call pre-cancer. We treat you on the spot. So not only do we screen you, but we detect that there is a sign, and we intervene immediately.
What we call institutional development. And your name is very, very important in helping us develop this.
Mr. Governor, we are very delighted as a community for what you are here to launch today. Cancer is a problem, and as people coming from low-income earning society, we have people even dying without knowing that they're suffering from cancer. That is why I'm saying that as a community from Kondele, this is a greater milestone.
Mostly we talk about cancer and other diseases. Yet sickle cell is one disease which is affecting so many. And it is a good initiative for this facility and the governor to open a special clinic for this.
But I know that Kisumu, being the mother of the other counties within the Lake Region Economic Bloc, this particular initiative will be beneficial not just to us, but to the rest of the people who live in the Greater Nyanza and within the Lake Region Economic Bloc.
Cancer is one of the leading causes of morbidity and mortality worldwide, with approximately 14 million new cases reported annually. I'm one of those statistics in that 14 million sometime ago. And I think I'm evidence that you can have cancer and still live. We are also committed to continuously build capacity in terms of human resource and equipment. These will include training and acquisition of enhanced diagnostic equipment that will aid in timely diagnosis and early detection of various diseases.
Henceforth, our CECD teachers shall be engaged with us on proper contractual obligations and be remunerated through the IPPD system. Meaning that they shall be put in the payroll and immediately acquire personal payroll numbers. We shall also continue employing strategies that will make the learning environment more rewarding for our children. And we have already started. That is why in the last financial year alone, we distributed 20 million shillings worth of textbooks and exercise books to all our ECD centers. And I will make sure that the materials given to you are worth 20 million shillings. We also provided meals to our ECD children at a cost of 14 million shillings. This feeding program has helped improve enrollment and retention in our centers. This has in turn improved transition to our primary schools. Further, the monitoring and evaluation unit will be visiting ECD centers at random at feeding times to ensure that what you are getting as a meal is what the money we are spending on you. You have now been enrolled in comprehensive medical cover. We have 2 job groups for ECD teachers. The first is the G job group. Previously, you in the G job groups were earning 10,500 shillings a month. Kweli au urongo? Kutoka leo, with immediate effect, under the county government of Nyang'nyong, you will be earning 20,800 shillings. The other job group is job group H. Currently, you are earning 12,500 shillings. Kutoka leo, tena with immediate effect, nyinyi mtapata 23,780 shillings. Sasa Bwana David Otieno Rasanaga. Daudi, Kisumu West. Otieno, chukua barua bwana. Kwa niaba na hawa jamaa watapata baadaye. Haya.
We're at Jaramogi Hospital and screening for cancer is ongoing, cervical, breast and prostate. And we're encouraging all the women in their reproductive ages to come in and know their status. So we'd really like to encourage everyone to take advantage of this, not just today and tomorrow, but actually this clinic that we have opened here at Jaramogi Hospital is open every day, Monday to Friday, for walk-in screening. So everybody is welcome, and with cancer, especially cervical cancer, if it is detected early, it can be treated and totally eliminated. We also would like to encourage all the parents of young girls aged 10 to come and have their daughters vaccinated, because that will give them a life guaranteed of no cervical cancer.
Once you are diagnosed in the early stages, we treat you even on the spot. If there's a sign of what we call pre-cancer, we treat you on the spot. So not only do we screen you, but we detect that there is a sign, and we intervene immediately.
ECD any foundation mar education. Anamora enya ni sirikane kwa lozo constitution nomi county government ECD. Nikacha msingi mar education. Today we are very happy to go and open ECD center Mudienya Kirwadi ya beach moko seme sub county today.
wabiro yao ECD center manyien moting'o pre-primary 1 gi pre-primary 2. Wabiro bende nyisou ni feeding program wadhigo mbele, wachiwo buge school ka, jopuonj nitie ka.
We have established 50 ECD classrooms in the county. Na tutaenda mbele. I found that ECD teachers were treated as casual laborers. You cannot have a teacher who is a casual laborer. Therefore, we put them on contract, trebled their salaries. Mokoneas sitting at Mapar, Wakito 23,000, the same sub-county, or Kombewa sub-county administrative office. We distributed the following: 18,537 exercise books, 3,504 textbooks. And this happened on the 30th of January, 2020, Kisumu. Kangato oko pagre oko wuotho tir. Can you see? Kangato oko pagre oko wuotho tir.
Give room for the children.
The screening for Kisumu County, as far as cancer is concerned, because I've mentioned is an indicator, is around 6%. Last year we were at around 5%. So there's a significant step by 1%. As for UTRH, we are, last year we did screening for cervical cancer, 2,000 screening, which we think is still very low. Now, out of that, 4.7% was productive, meaning that 4.7% out of the 100%, which is 2,000, we managed to detect positive for cervical cancer.
We are here to launch this special screening clinic. Cancer has reached menace proportions in our country. This to the extent that one would even be excused for thinking that cancer is an epidemic disease. Cancer is the third leading cause of death and second among non-communicable diseases. It is estimated that annually 37,000 Kenyans contract cancer with an annual mortality rate of 28,000.
So my speech is really a vote of thanks, as you can see. And I'm really excited today because this also fits in with the governor's overall vision for a comprehensive cancer screening center. And, or rather, for a comprehensive cancer center. And screening is the very first spoke in that wheel.
We have come in large numbers because we believe what is happening today is something which is very important to this country. We know cancer is finishing our people, and we as County First Ladies, we decided to also lend a voice in the fight against cancer. We started this Empower program in June, just in June. And today is November, and we have a cancer clinic.
My youngest daughter, Salome, was born in January 2018 here in East Africa. When she has grown up, I want to show her Kenya, a place where equal access to innovative healthcare is as normal as it is in many other countries. I want to show her a hospital in Kisumu with Kenyan doctors who cure cancer with state-of-the-art treatments. And I want to show her scientists in Kisumu who develop personalized medicines for African patients. Today, we are launching the Empower program, which allows the early detection of female cancers. In addition to the benefits for the cancer patients, this program goes one step further. To think about people in this community who have disabilities, by training and employing women who are deaf and blind to conduct the screening, we demonstrate that everyone can contribute to the health and well-being of the community. Together with the government of Kisumu, we announced today that 3 innovative cancer treatments will now be available free of charge to patients beyond the current limitations of NHIF.
Those who can't afford to go to India, those who can't afford Nairobi Hospital, really they're dying very quiet, very miserable deaths. So since you are in the community, I think this initiative really will bring us to a stage where we'll start dealing with cancer cases.
So I think we have started off very well. My experience is awareness, preventive health, preventive care is the biggest foundation of fighting cancer.
Today, I'm happy to be here again to talk to you once again about how we can fight cancer and to lower the burden of cancer in this country. I must applaud the First Ladies for coming together as women to create not only the conversation about the effect of women, but also to talk about what can be done as women. Over 25% of the total cancer registration worldwide last year, there was 25% of them were mostly women.
My fellow citizens, we are experiencing an extremely unusual situation in Kisumu, where apart from dealing with the coronavirus, we have had unexpected floods along the Nyando Basin. We had a terrible emergency situation I haven't seen since 1962. We have a total of 7,520 households displaced, being housed in various camps. And most of these households, their houses have been destroyed by water. In a place like Sangurota, even the road getting to Sangurota has been cut off from that enclave. A few households have been integrated in the community, but extremely vulnerable and must be supported. These households are spread as follows: Nyando, has 4,175 households, Moroni 600 households, Nyakach 2,750 households, and Seme 30 households. And understand that there is also some flooding here in Kisumu West. We have given up provisions totaling 8,276 households. Today, this exercise is going to cover 3 sub-counties of Nyando, Moroni, and Nyakach, and will cover 2,800 households. That is about 14,000 people. This supply, worth 3.5 million shillings, will cover those families for 4 days. Each family will receive the following: rice, unga flour, wheat flour, cooking oil, milk, uji flour, sugar, tea leaves, water guard, cabbages, potatoes, blankets, and mosquito nets.
Wan jok mane pi odaro e gweng' mar Kabala, kendo en gima nopuoyo wa to nok wang'e ne nyalo timore kaka notimore no, but noriembo ji te chula mar Kabala. Koro udi nolwar morumo, ji be nodar, koro kaka ji tim, jo achiel ariyo adek, ng'ama ne nyalo ng'iyo kamoro konyore, jomoko nodhi e sikul, jomoko bo dhi opango kanisni, jomoko bo opango lendni. Koro nwakwayo sirikal ne mondo okonywa, nikech wan matek, suna be ne kayowa, gimoro nyalo chamo be onge nikech koro kuonde mane watiye tich nochung'. Koro waduoko erokamano ka kawuono en tarik 28, wayudo ka sirikal okelo gimoro ni mondo wakonyrego, gimiyowa baranget, gimiyowa chiemo, gimiyowa jaket mar koyo aila marwa koni. Abedo gi mor ahinya ni sirikal.
Ago erokamano ne gavana odiochieng' ma kawuono ma wayudo achiel ariyo adek nyaka nwabi e skul ka wasebedo kod thagruok.
Mae nyaka waduok ne Profesa Nyang'yong'o gi timne erokamano. Omede timo kama, kendo jopiny mor kawuono konwang'o gik ma gidhi konyorego.
Tich mokwongo monego tim ma sirikal dhi timo en ni warang kaka inyalo los wach mar pigi mondo koro bed permanent kendo.
The flooding along the Nyando Basin cannot be controlled effectively until and unless we build the Koru Soin multipurpose dam. This dam has been in the work since 1951, over 70 years. I think it is high time we stop being penny-wise and pounds-foolish to build this dam to control this perennial flooding, which in the final analysis has cost this nation millions and billions of shillings because of the disaster it causes every year and the emergency responses we have to mount. I want to assure you that the request that the minister has made to grow this fund is in line with our policy of supporting small and medium enterprises as the key elements in a growing economy. You know that we have embarked on expanding and modernizing what we call the Kisumu Innovation and Incubation Center next to the social hall, and that this is meant for those small and medium enterprises who are venturing into new areas of trade to try their hand at something they're not quite sure will enter the market, and by putting it there, you'll benefit from the economies of scale in the Innovation and Incubation Center to reduce your cost of production. The other thing we are doing is to leap from trading on the streets to having proper premises for small and medium enterprises or traders on the streets. By establishing a commercial center for small traders somewhere in this city, we are in negotiations with Kenya Railways to give us land which belongs to them but they have not been using, so that we can establish a small and medium enterprises center, commercial center. That center will be complete with other services like banking, social services, restaurants, and so on. This makes it possible for traders not to risk going on the street with their money to walk to the bank. The first thing that we have to do to make it possible for you to have access to market is make information available to small and medium enterprises. Kisumu last year was rated as the best county with opening business and opportunities to do business. That's not good enough. We can be a county where opening a business is very easy, but once you open a business, you can't expand easily because you don't know much about the market. We do realize that this is the duty of every government. That is why we have a Ministry of Trade and Business here. That's why we have an information facility in our county, and we would like you to make full use of these facilities. But this will not make much sense to you unless you have access to capital. What the Department of Trade has established is to have a revolving fund for you. The word revolving means it goes round. When you borrow, you pay, other people borrow and pay, then the fund grows. But if the payback rate is low, then the fund cannot grow. It is for you to inform the Ministry of Trade the difficulty you may have in paying back the loans. If you explain why you have problems not paying back the loan in time and as needed, then it's possible for government to find ways and means of getting rid of those bottlenecks that put requests in your attempt to expand your business. And as we established as commercial center for small traders, let us make use of these markets that have been there for a long time so that we can trade in them. The infrastructure necessary for accessing these markets will obviously be made available. And I mentioned Kibuye, Otonglo, and Jubilee. Under the Kisumu Urban Project, the time has come now for these to be the last projects we are doing under Kisumu Urban Project, on modernizing them and really making them user-friendly for traders. They will be expanded, they will have proper facilities, and more people will be able to find stalls there or space there to trade.
The Department of Business, Cooperative and Marketing is ensuring that the target groups are accessing affordable credit, creating jobs for themselves and others, and participate in the economic development of the region, thereby contributing to the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals. Since the inception in 2017, County Trade Fund has cumulatively disbursed Kenya shillings 20.1 million to traders across the country. Now 2019, we have 8 million and 8.7 million.
Teresa Okot, you are getting a check for 150,000 shillings to facilitate your business. Ongera. Paul Okia Udera, Paulo, 100,000 shillings. Thank you very much.
Adwana wachinu nika wechegi no chakore. Gavana mane oyiero ka ohero no luongo bura maduong' ahinya kanye e county ma Kisumu kacha. Bura no tingo joma tiyo ne county government kod national government kod ji giwegi kaka ng'owa Red Cross and the business community. Mita no chiwo report ni jodalawa ma nyando manyaka gi kamora mora ni kod ang'owa ni kod tawo.
Wan gi mogo kanyo manyalo konyo jopiny. Wayiere. Wan kanyo biro gi mchele. Mar adek, wan gi ng'or miluongo ni green grams, dengu, olayo, Oyayo en chiemo motegno ahinya. Kilose maber gi mchele. Okodonjo. Mano be nitie. To gimimiyo nyithindo, chiemo miyo nyithindo be waketo kanyo. Chak moro be ni kanyo, ubiro neno. To gi sukari. Ing'e ni mano korom. Onget bi umrigo. Onget ok ber. Mok chapat awinjo ni upenja ahinya. Mok chapat osechopo ka. Usiwe na wasiwasi, tuko pamoja. Tutakuwa na nyinyi mpaka mwisho, ama sivyo? Na baadaye tukimaliza hii shida ya leo, tutaendelea kuendeleza hapa, ama sivyo? Tutaendeleza kuhakikisha ya kwamba all these rivanyano muneno thaguri wasenyiso sirikal kendo nitie mpango malicha ahinya mar timo gimoro ni Koru Soin multipurpose dam malo but Kalango kucho, mondo ka pi oa Kanandi to donje dam, to koro biro ka en gimoro manyalo bedo organized maber. Okay. To ng'ama ng'okni bende wasechake gi Kisumu kucha kwaloso port. Wan gi China moko matimo gimoro dredging of the port. Ka port osebedo dredged piny kucha kuma lowo ng'enye cha, to koro pi biro a koni kadi kocha mondo kik omok.
Sigane Uganda.
Wan be wabiro ni ka gini oserumo, koro nyaka wang'e shida modong'. Udi adi mokethre, kaka ji dok dak, mano bende koro tiyo. Kamano, tagwa wagero kamano kabisa ni jowa mok jo sirikal to jitolea muhanga mondo gikonyo. Nigi mokoro wabiro timo, tukiangalia mbele, wabiro neno ni wagero evacuation centers motegno maber. Makara kaponi ji obedo evacuated, to nyithindo duogo e skul to kuthago. Kamano, kinde ma koth onge gima ji ok chagre, to wanyalo tiyo kodgi kama ji some elimu ya Gumbaru. Kamano, multipurpose center manyalo konyowa.
Now, some of the issues that have arisen regarding the UHC are, it must be service-driven, not supply-driven, and the issue of human resource, because all presentation you hear about the shortage of human resource.
I want to acknowledge that the pilot has been hugely successful. In our county, I would say more than 85%, close to 100%. Of the population from the pilot counties are registered into the UHC scheme. After the official launch, the public have shown increased appetite for public sector facilities. Indeed, the utilization of both out and inpatient services in all the 4 counties has increased by close to 50%, as you just saw in the Isiolo example. Now, over time, this will decrease. The appetite for going for curative services will decrease as public health is improved at the village level, especially with more active involvement of community health workers. We must invest in prevention of illnesses at the community level and treat uncomplicated illnesses at the dispensary and healthcare level. Our hospitals should be left to handle complex clinical problems.
In facilities like referral hospitals, we can create conditions, a long waiting time in OPD with a good triaging system is actually an advantage, is kind of a useful barrier that I'm not afraid of is a useful barrier to ensure that the lower level facilities are utilized under certain conditions.
Universal health coverage is a result-oriented enterprise. It's oriented towards improving healthcare for the people, having easy access, making sure that where there is no satisfaction at a certain level, you can move it to another level. It is constantly result-oriented.
Koro wadwa keto village councils manitie ji abich, mainly elders, to gi chairman achiel. Mawacho wach ka gibete bunge ngino tikelo mapendekezo yote kutoka village. Hawa jamaa watazungumza na wananchi, watapitisha mapendekezo ya wananchi, na huyu ambaye anaitwa village administrator atachukua haya mapendekezo kupeleka juu. Mondo kwa loso budget kagi gose wachi okuningane ne Steve Madi from one village to the other is very inefficient. Sani buwake to jomoko no se wach kani Kisumu County road maintenance teams. Magi chalo japida machonka. Imiyo gi equipment, gin ye gweng, gi uniform, gin go pao. Koro gin kose losi gi contractor to gibiro gi timiyo gi pesa magi chamo magi dige orgi. Mano kuber. Kwa sababu ekonomia halisi, economics ma proper, wachoni, if you want to develop a nation, there must be equity in income distribution. Jiduto nyaka bedi gi gimoro magi spend. Nikech ka an gi pesa, eka nyalo idho pikipipi, kadi Kisumu. Ka an gi pesa, eka nyalo wachoni kuro electricity bire oda, KPLC kuro yudo market. Kan gi pesa kachopo Kisumu eka nyalo dhi kiosk moko tang'iyo mukati takelo ja kiosk no koro yudo business nikech in gi pesa. Ja kiosk cannot have business kionge pesa.
Healthcare provision has been a challenge for the region, with the response to emergencies leading. Modernization of the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital was one of the major flagship projects initiated by Governor Peter Anyang' Nyong'o in his campaign manifesto. In realization to this, the following changes are evident.
When we were given the challenge, how do we modernize Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital, we did a situation analysis and we realized that our area of weakness lies in emergency response. So we had to boost our emergency capability. And therefore, under that, we decided that for us to do it well, we need to reduce the time to respond to emergencies. And therefore, the project that we are undertaking is to build doctors' call room suites, which means that you don't have to get doctors from Nyahera and then you come back, you get an anesthetist, you come back, you get the next person. So not only are you reducing the response, but you're also saving money. And so we decided that we needed to build doctors' call room suites, so that if you are on call, then you are within the hospital compound. All those fellows who work as a team are within the hospital compound.
Under construction are the doctor's suite, funeral parlor, parking area, and an intensive facelift at the casualty to help with emergency cases.
Now the second area in line with that was to develop our infrastructure and emergency and accident center, what is otherwise known as casualty. We wanted to improve the flow of patients, so that patients, traditionally when you go to OPDs and even before the modernization, patients go to the doctors. In emergencies, the doctors and the nurses who go to the patients. And so our design for emergency center is based on that. The flow is the clinicians, that's the nurses, the doctors, are the ones that move to the patient. That is very tremendous, because our design throughout the country has never taken this into consideration. So we are modernizing that.
With the introduction of new services that were never there before, legitimacy and relevance in provision of healthcare services has been achieved.
For example, bronchoscopy. We didn't have bronchoscopy for a long time, and so we prioritize it. From 2016 up to now, when we are taking statistics, there were around 200 patients that we were referring outside to remove either coins from their lungs and all that. And patients would perish along the way, or when they reach there, it is pretty late. That one we zeroed in.
New equipment such as laparoscopy, chromoscopy, endoscopy. To add on to this, we have a new CT scan with 64 slides, a fully equipped MRI unit with an MRI machine, and an oncology center with a chemo shield.
One of the machines that we have received latest is endoscopy machine that is behind me, and it is also helping us because clients were being seen or patients were being seen at Aga Khan that is very costly, or specialist.
This is our CT scan room. We have a new CT scan machine, a 64 slide machine, which we usually use for diagnostics. A CT scan machine it's a scanner. It scans different parts of the body. It's a diagnostic machine. Usually, after the images are acquired, they are interpreted by the radiologist, and a report is given to the doctors who now treat the patients.
We also looked at a modernization in terms of, filling the gap for the and therefore introducing new services that we were referring to either Moi or Kenyatta. And these services are endoscopy, laparoscopy, and the colonoscopy, which is also part of actually endoscopic procedure. Now these services were never available. The reason why we thought that we needed to introduce them is because the demand was so huge, and there was a lot of capital flight from Kisumu County and the area. And part of our responsibility is to reduce societal cost in health. And so when we have them, then of course we are making people also to receive the services that they are demanding highly. But again, the other reason that we are doing it, as a big institution, we are also competing for resources from sources, and therefore it's part of our legitimacy and relevance. So not only were we doing these new services to meet the demand, but also to be relevant in the world of healthcare. It's very, very important for us. The same legitimacy and relevance made us also to put the parking. We have to have a good parking area, and that is very important for the patient, but also very important for people who are seeking services in our institution. You can't have dust all over you, and hospitals are known to be places where we have diseases. So if there's dust, wind comes in, and then you are breathing the same dust that contains TB and all that. All this we had to put to a stop. So that informed the reason why we are putting our parking.
The use of neuroscience to reduce capital flight from Kisumu County to other counties to cater for the demand and promote medical tourism in the region.
When you want to improve your services, then you have to have a model. So we had to choose an area of medicine that would impact also in other areas as we go along. So we chose neuroscience mainly because one, we had a strong international collaboration that would help us realize a dream. And so we chose neuroscience as a center of excellence. And this is we are doing. We are known now for neuroscience because we carry massive neuroscience activities, at least in routine, but mostly 4 times in a year. And so neuroscience would help this region. But we also want to anchor ourselves as a tourism destination as far as neuroscience is concerned. We want to be known and probably improve our economy based on an area of health that we are good at, and that's neuroscience.
With the completion of the modernization of the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospitals, patients will be able to access free, affordable and quality healthcare under one roof, saving on costs to be incurred on referral cases, Kisumu being one of the pilot UHC counties.
We are serving patients with NHIF free without being given us any money for registration. Same to UHC, so long as you have a universal health cover, we are serving you free of charge. Well, since this UHC started, we have received so many patients per day. At casualty alone, we have got our patient services, those who are being treated and going home, about 700 or 800 per day. Casualty alone. Night, that is 24 hours, day and night.
As we face climate change issues and devastating effects of weather patterns, we will be able to serve communities where drought will hit.
Our communities usually every now and again, whether school activity or something like that, needing, or a funeral for that matter, needing supply of clean drinkable water. Whereas this Bowser is not there for private use. We can make decisions where necessary so as to avoid the possibilities of cholera, that water can be supplied at a cost to those who need at certain times. But let it be known that our aim is to supply clean drinkable water through pipe water and boreholes within a fair period of time according to your program of action in the Ministry of Water and Environment to ensure that we are sufficient supply. The reason why we bought this Bowser is as an intermediary process or initiative, because we know that water tanks are much easier to put up to catch rainwater. But we are also aware that sometimes when the rains are not there, they go dry. Rather than leave them dry and people suffer, we will have a program whereby they are refilled from the Bowser.
So the main output at the end of the term is to make sure that each and every sub-county has a water Bowser. So we are starting from one, and next financial year we are moving another one. Then the financial year 2020-2021